Welcome back to Friday Q&A. As always, thank you so much for all your questions this week. Question number one is going to be so obvious, and a lot of you asked about this double neck, but we will get to the double neck. If you would like to support the channel, you can go to the video description and you can purchase some Ragdoll music. There are links to our Bandcamp page. You can download our entire digital discography. There's also links to merch, vinyl, CDs, all the good stuff. And if you are after an axe cam mount or some foot switch toppers for your pedals or your Fractal audio devices or just about anything else, there is a discount code in the video description for the Home Musicians website. If you've seen any of my Fractal videos, the foot switch toppers, they are the ones that I use. They're really affordable and you can save on those with that discount code. Now, let's talk about this guitar and what it is and what it isn't. If you just look at the body shape, you would probably go, well, that's not a guitar Gibson ever made. And this guitar was not made by Gibson, even though it does say Gibson on the headstock. So what on earth is it? It's a replica of something called the Double 12, which is a guitar Gibson made in the late 50s. They offered it in a couple of different formats, one being the 6-string guitar and 12-string guitar. Another one was a 6-string guitar and a mandolin. I feel like there was another type of configuration you could order, but they didn't make a lot of these. And I did a standalone video about this guitar, so I don't want to rehash too much of that. You can go and watch that video. But basically, my dad had a book with a photo of an original one of these in Sunburst. I think the originals had like a spruce top and a few other things like that as well, because, you know, they're big, heavy guitars. And from those photos, he basically photocopied them, you know, scaled them up, and just by looking at photos kind of made a replica of it. There's a really cool story about it. Like I said, I've done a standalone video with this guitar, but it's pretty awesome. And, you know, it's a head turner for sure, and you've probably seen it in the background of a lot of videos, and I have been playing it more. At the moment, I've got the 12-string neck in an open C sus2 tuning, so C, G, C, G, C, D. There's 2 pickups per neck and a neck selector. You can run both at the same time, although I rarely do that. So we've got the 12-string neck on the, I like it in the middle. Solid 4 out of 10 for my harmonics right there. And then on this neck, I've got this one in standard tuning, and this just kind of sounds like a kind of But I think my favorite thing is to use lots and lots of distortion and delay, select the 12-string neck and play on the 6-string neck. So select the 12-string neck and it's going to basically drone sympathetically. You get this sound. That's the vibe with this guitar. Like I said, if you take a look on my channel, I've got a standalone video kind of explaining the story with this guitar a little bit more, but I'll keep playing it for the rest of this video. Let's go back over to that clean sound because I was digging that. Alrighty, there were other questions unrelated to this guitar, and the first of those questions comes from Dan. He was asking which modeler that isn't one of the big ones like a Fractal or a Kemper does the best Mesa Mark series emulation. And my first answer to this question is, I think by far the best Mesa Mark emulation, I'm just going to leave that one in there, is on the Fractal units. I think they have absolutely nailed the Mark series amps. all of the tiny little details that matter are in there, as well as their tri-axis simulation, which is spot on. So having said that, out of all the other modelers that I've tried, the Atomic Amplifier Mark Series emulation is pretty good. It doesn't give you as much control, like you don't have the graphic EQ in there, although you can kind of use an EQ block to get there. There's also a mode modeled with a preset EQ on there. But I do have to say, the Mua micro preamp, their little Mark III micro preamp, I've owned that one. You can get it for less than $100, and that's actually really good. And I enjoyed the Mark Series emulation in the GE 200 as well. So off the top of my head, that is probably the best little hardware Mesa Mark Series ampulation, if I'm going to say it again, amp emulation out there. But while they're all pretty good, I think the Fractal one it's just ridiculous. It's amazing. It's what I use for my live sounds, which rolls nicely into the next question. Who asked me this question? I'm looking at this list in front of me. This one's from David, and the video clip that I posted in the Q&A last time where we were rehearsing, the rehearsal that we recorded, I'm not using the Mark IV emulation in the FM3, David. I'm actually using the Mark IIc++ emulation in there. That's what I use for my live sounds. You can hear it with this. It's not really dialed in for this guitar, but let's go to the 6-string neck. This is what it sounds like just for the kind of straight up rhythms. Super duper tight, and then there's a scene on there with ridiculous amounts of gain and reverb and delay. Beautiful stuff. So that is pretty much the preset that I was using on that live video clip. This next question is from Tom. We had a question about the Mark Series emulations. What is the best recto in a box? I'm assuming you mean in a pedal. I did some long, hard thinking about this because I've tried a few of those. AMT make a recto style preamp, which is pretty good. But I have to say, out of all the ones that I've tried, the Rev G3, their red distortion pedal, has probably the most recto-iness out of all the pedals that I've tried. I know Wampler make a recto style pedal in a box as well. I've tried that. That's pretty good. Like, a pedal isn't gonna really get you the whole recto experience. There's part of the magic in those amps is what's going on in the power amp as well. But for just kind of getting that juicy, over the top low end kind of thing, I think the Rev G3 is one to look at. It's got a little dip switch on there as well, which lets you select kind of like a tight and an aggressive mode as well, which is a nice thing to have on there. So it's not necessarily like a one-to-one recto, but it's definitely like inspired by recto, son of recto, or something like that. The next question related to IRs from Jason. We're talking about the 5153 models in the Fractal products. Which IR, commercial or otherwise, would I choose to go with those? For me personally, I have 3 IRs that I've made of my cabs, and I pretty much use those for everything. And you can get those absolutely free if you go to the Fractal Exchange and search my handle on there, which is 2112. I got in there early with that one. I'm sure that was a popular one, and there's a lot of people who go to sign up for that, going, I know what I'm going to do, my favorite Rush album. And yeah, so that's me on the Exchange, and you can find those cabinets. You can try those. I think they sound great with the 5153. For stock cabinets, my favorite stock cabinets are the York Audio Mesa V30 IRs. Off the top of my head, in the XFX3, it's like factory 2 840-ish or something like that. 842 and 848 are the ones that I like to use and blend them together. They sound great. I think the York Audio IR packs as well are well worth checking out. He's got like a traditional Mesa cab pack, which sounds great, and an oversized Mesa cab pack for those kind of high gain things. I think they're amazing. He's just put out a greenback cab pack as well, and a blackback cab pack a little while ago. There's some really, really solid sounding stuff there. So that's what I would go for. You can get my free IRs, you can use the factory IRs, or check out the York Audio stuff because I think it is fantastic. Next question comes from Who's Your Daddy? There was quite a few of these questions in there. Let's get through a couple of them. Ted Nugent. I like Ted Nugent's music a lot. I got to play it. And for the longest time, I thought Ted was singing all of those songs. And listening to something like Stranglehold, the vocals on it are absolutely killer. But it's obviously not Ted singing on there. Derek St. Holmes, I almost said David St. Hubbins. I think that's a Spinal Tap reference. But yeah, that early Ted stuff is great. You know, love him or loathe him, the guy can play the guitar, and I love his attack and his conviction and his attitude when he's playing. And if I shaved my beard, and probably if I worked out a whole bunch more and wore a loincloth, I might be able to do a Ted Nugent lookalike kind of thing as well. All right. The amp model that I used in the last video, I can't remember. This one's from DC Boys as well. I have a suspicion that it was the Atomica High in the last video because the Atomica is my favorite 80s style amp. But if you like the Atomica, check out the Friedman BE in there. If you're using an Axe FX, you can check out my presets up on Axechange as well. For those, Wade asked about Bill's guitars. Bill being my dad, you know, he made this one, and the Strat that I used last week, he builds all of that stuff from scratch. He does all the inlay work himself. He doesn't do it as much as he used to do, even though I keep telling him he should. And yeah, he's just one of those guys who loves figuring out how to do stuff. He's very much in the polymath category, and yeah, I don't know how he does half of what he does, but I love those guitars. I love this guitar as well. Just the attention to detail on it. And again, this wasn't built off plans. This was built off like a handful of photographs. So yeah, he's kind of like a man out of his time at the moment. True artisan when it comes to these kind of things. We're kind of already getting to the end of these questions. I've got a few more. Binface asked about why I don't use the locking nuts on my Hamers, and that's because I never use the Floyds. And you know, if you're somebody who's not used to playing guitars with Floyds and then you go to tune up, it's always like, you know, the nut's locked and you go to tune the guitar and you go, oh, I got to go to the fine tuners. So the bridges on mine are actually blocked, so there's kind of like no use in having a locking nut on there. And then I take them off and I lose them. So that's the other dumb thing as well. So if I ever had to sell those guitars, it'd be like, oh guys, I don't know where the locking nut's at. So that's why I don't do that. This next one is from Solar Guitar Studio. He had two questions, but the first one relates to using 2 amps in the Axe FX3, hard panned. So this is going to be a pair of high gain amps, and basically what does it sound like? At the moment on the left channel I have the Atomica High, and on the right channel I have the Rectifier. Let's hear just the Atomica. This guitar's going out of tune a little bit. I apologize about that. And on the other channel, the Rec. Together, hard pan left and right. So that's what's going on there. That's kind of cool. What you can do in the cab block as well is slightly misalign those two IRs, so you kind of get some phase discrepancies, which makes things sound wider instead. Very, very cool stuff. You can also get that direct to console thing really easily. You can use a null IR in the cab block, and the cab block has some preamp emulation in there, or you can use the Tube preamp model, which sounds really good. You can also create a power amp simulation using that neutral sounding Tube pre model. I got a video on that coming over the next couple of weeks, so look out for that. Wayne asked me about Raging Slab. Very, very cool band. What was the quote from Beavis and Butthead? They're like Skinnered, but cool. I mean, Skinnered are cool, and Raging Slab are cool. It's a very kind of interesting sound, and they were a little bit ahead of their time. I always think about, you know, looking back in hindsight, because I was alive, but I certainly wasn't doing anything other than just crapping my pants in the early 90s. That whole kind of post-hair metal thing where it was all about, you know, like, you know, driving old hot rods around the desert in your music videos and tumbleweeds and ripped blue denim and cowboy hats. They were a couple of years ahead of their time with that one. And yeah, there's a music recommendation. Go and listen to some Raging Slab. Any band that has an album and a song called Arse Master, you know what you're gonna get. You know it's gonna be a rock and roll band. So, and on that, Courtney asked me, have I checked out the new Steel Panther? I enjoyed the video. You know, Steel Panther, I remember when they came out, it was a funny joke, but I was like, man, these guys are great players. What's going on? And Russ Parrish, just primo guitar player. So yeah, you know, I don't think I'd listened to it more than once in a row. I really liked their first album, and everything else they've done just kind of musically to me is a bit, yeah, whatever. But, you know, they're a great live band, you know, and, you know, they're still Panther. Of course it's going to be enjoyable if you like music from the 80s. But I thought that whole boy band thing was a pretty good bit. That was a pretty good bit. Alrighty, that looks like all the questions. No, there's one more question. This is from Wade, I think. Another Wade? No, it's from Whack Job, about playing a solo guitar with an Evertune bridge. That sounds fun. If anybody's got a solo guitar with an Evertune bridge they want to lend me, I'll play some riffs on that thing. And yeah, see how it holds up, because yeah, the Evertune thing, it feels like something I should be into. You know, if I'm into the Axe effects and I'm into a bunch of these other things, and that seems like the next logical step. Alrighty, I said that was the last question, but it's not. This question comes from Ronnie. Have I ever played in Germany? Yes, I have. I have a kind of funny, embarrassing story about that I talked about a couple of weeks ago in my Q&A, but I dug up a live video. This is us playing in Hamburg on a Monday night in Germany. Enjoy this clip. The sound is absolutely terrible, but the lights are great. So, and I remember this show because I was using the Axe FX Ultra on this tour, and this PA was gigantic, and walking up, plugging into it and going go 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 go, and it was the most gloriously loud, chunky thing I'd ever heard in my life. So yeah, here's a bit of Shine from Hamburg in Germany a couple of years back. Thank you all so much for checking out the video. If you have questions for next week, get them in the comments. Stay safe, be good to one another.
We are waiting for the sun to shine, shed my skin, lift the darkness from my eyes. No more tears to cry. Like a you.